Okay, we just got our hands on something, chat. If you are just joining, we are watching it live over on twitch.tv/TroyMacon. Come on over, say hi. We just got our hands on, they say 30 minutes, actually 26 minutes. From my understanding, Gamecom behind closed doors / I get maybe at the booths, if you go to the booths, of Doom Awakening. And so, yeah, we're going to see what the presentation is. Because I am following it very closely because I love Doom, I love MMO, I love survival game, and this is a puppet storm. And yeah, so let's figure out what is exactly going on at Gamecom when it comes to Doom Awakening. So, like always, go to your chat and let's jump on into it and see what up.
Hi everybody, and welcome to this first glimpse at the gameplay of Dune Awakening. I'm really excited to welcome you into our world. But I want to point out a couple of things.
So they're going to go way more.
First of all, this is a beta. This is beta footage.
Way
so
more in than they did at Open Night Live.
And secondly, our tutorialization is still a work in progress.
Yeah.
With that said,
come to next shield, so
let's get into it.
There's going to be a lot of stuff in it that's going to change, though.
The start of the game, Dune Awakening, begins off-world on this large spaceship.
Show yourself, child.
It is here, in the presence of the Reverend Mother, the character creation begins.
Yeah,
now, the first thing you'll do
in the lab,
is choose your preset avatar. Some of these are heavily inspired by the Denis Villeneuve movies. Once you've chosen a base visual look, you can then move into the depths of character creation and make choices about how your character feels, both in terms of age, but also a plethora of physical attributes. Our goal in giving players access to a detailed character creator is to really allow them to create the avatar that lets them fulfill their fantasy.
Yeah, I like the type of slide or more so than
Arrakis.
the one that go in percentages.
There are a multitude of hairstyles.
I wouldn't say that. Like, an okay amount. I wonder how much of this stuff gonna be added.
Things such as tattoos for players to choose from.
By the time that it comes out next year.
You can even choose different styles of lipstick and eyeshadow.
Yeah, I feel like this is leaning in pretty much like the normal character equation. I'm not seeing anything like super insane about it yet. You know?
You can choose the muscle tone of your character, from height, arm thickness, leg thickness, neck length. And once you finish your character, you choose your name and enter the world. And once you've customized the avatar that you want to play in the game,
Have they told you
well, then we
what
move
I
into the
am?
second phase of character creation.
Then I will sift your words for
Yeah, this is like the
lies.
backstory stuff and stuff.
Let's begin. Where were you born?
The second phase of character creation
A world
is
of
where
water.
you, as a person who may or may not know anything about Dune, get to make choices about who you were before the game starts. Where you come from,
Bad
what
advice.
caste you belong
make a
to
bad
in the Dune
deal.
universe, and of
Be
course,
close to
perhaps
power
most
is to
importantly,
walk the
who your
dice
mentor
in.
was.
Who was your mentor?
Your mentor determines your starting set of skills when you enter the game.
Okay, so we
You
got
must
like
have been
4 out of the
very
gate right
young.
now, huh?
The mind must be prepared or the training does not take. The test is almost complete. Have you spoken truth? Come here. Kneel. Put your hand in the box.
Oh, no elaboration on the whole panic and die.
I hold at your neck
Oh,
the
never mind, here it
Conjurer,
is.
the high-handed enemy. Don't pull away or you will die. Great plots are afoot in the Imperium, and the currents of intrigue run deeply. Arrakis is the key, and the Fremen are missing. You will go to Arrakis as our agent, prisoner.
Yeah, this is an alternate
You
universe,
have
by the way,
one
chat.
task. Find the Fremen. Wake the sleeper. You will know when it is done.
You know, originally I thought we were like on a slave ship or something with the way you quiet and how they like looking for us on the planet.
Now we're going to jump ahead a little bit in the story here, skipping past several events just to sort of get into the early new player experience of the game. And you'll see that the player, after various shenanigans, wakes up here in a cave. And as we sort of look around the cave, we'll notice that it's filled with Fremen.
Probably the tutorial wide.
The remnants of, you know, this ancient culture. So now as the player takes their first steps in the world, they're really here amongst the dead. And so the first question they should be asking is, what happened here? Who are these people? And,
I want to know how we got here.
This is just a
We're
place
not going to find out who comes out.
Time to adjust their settings, get a feel for the movement keys, and then move forward into the cave. And they'll stumble upon their first major interaction point, which is the Frem Kit. The Frem Kit in our game serves as both a backpack for the player, of course, but also really a guide. The Fremen used to pack these with interesting objects that they could use to survive in the desert, and it's no different from the player. So here they begin their first crafting experience, crafting a small scrap knife.
So we need metal, huh? Okay.
That was in the Frem Kit. These caves have been moisture sealed in order to preserve the moisture of those within the cave, and so the player, as they explore, will be able to use their scrap metal knife to pierce the seals and escape. So really, this entire area,
I want to know how you get in here.
Unreal Engine 5 is just to sort of get the player and ease them into the path. A lot of survival games have very abrupt, very harsh beginnings. And we try to, you know, make the experience of joining Dune Awakening just a little easier. Just give people a little bit of a feel for the world before we really toss them out into the harshness that is.
Man, you can tell there's like a quote-unquote AAA survival game
and we're going to use that to heal our character. And once we're healed, you'll see that our stamina bar in the bottom left appears. And now that we have stamina, we can climb. The climbing system in Dune Awakening is based, in part, on the one that we built for Conan Exiles. It's a free-form climbing system.
Yeah, we gotta play Conan.
It can be used to climb almost anywhere. And as you'll see later,
you still played it.
The new technology available in Dune Awakening,
such
as dispenser belts, allows us to do even more interesting things with traversal. So once we've finished that first little section, we're jumping ahead. We're going straight into the harsh real world of Arrakis. And here are your first steps on Arrakis. Your ornithopter has crashed.
Okay, I see we got water stand over there
immediately because the Sandworm always comes.
Well, I get menu more so.
And what you have to keep in mind is these are the little ones. So these are the first Sandworms you encounter in the game. There's bigger ones later on. The other thing that you have to pay attention to as a player is sunstroke and heat. So if you see in the top middle of the UI here, we've got this sunstroke bar building up. The longer you stay in the sunlight, the more chance you have of getting into this sunstroke state. And of course, our player here, not the sharpest knife in the drawer, has decided to stay in the sun and try harvesting water from plants. So he has become sunstroked.
Okay, what did I actually do?
Sunstroke gives you a debuff. It means that your water goes down much faster than it normally would.
I had a feeling that was.
That means you'll need to drink more often. So stick to the shadows, avoid the sun.
So yeah, kind of similar to Nightingale in that way.
So now that we've made our way out of the first part of the desert and we're heading deeper in, we're going to start to harvest in the game.
We do have the menu for like the sound.
A lot of these survival games is quite similar. In this case, we're picking up items, but we're about to pull out what's known as the cut array. And what we do with the cut array is we analyze structures to find their weak points.
Yeah.
And then we cut along those lines to break open the structures and
so I will wipe from the portrait law.
This is like mining. We apply it both to rocks, we apply it to metals in the game world. And at the start of the game as a player, you'll just be scrounging around, picking up, finding structural weak points in rocks that you can harvest, breaking them apart, and taking those pieces with you.
Because I did say that what
Now
that
we've
looked
jumped ahead
like
a
in the
little bit.
original trailer.
And we see that the player is starting to be affected by the spice in the air. And this means that players need to get somewhere safe, in shelter, before the spice overwhelms them and overwhelms their senses.
So what
And
happened
this
if
is
overwhelmed?
another large part of the game. We're not going to show too much of it today, but spice is a very important part. With the world broken apart,
I'm curious, like, what
assassins,
will it
there are
actually do to
NPC
you from a
bases
gameplay
scattered
point of
all
view?
over Arrakis. We're switching to a different character now, one who's slightly more advanced, and he's using his binoculars to mark an NPC outpost. I'm going to mark that. That marker will then appear on our compass.
Fall damage?
And you're able to approach them in any
never
way you
mind.
like. In this case, our character uses a Shigawire claw
We
combined
also
with
got
a
an
dispenser
energy
belt
ball down
to
at
get
the
up to
bottom
high
now for
ground
the boot
and
thing.
approach the enemy base from above. Kind of one of the interesting things about Dune Awakening is just how you can combine the different abilities. And this is how traversal really plays into the game. Like, you end up being able to attack these bases from any angle that you'd like. Now, our player is going to craft the first gun in the game, known as a Mauler pistol, which translates to, you know, the basic kind of weapon in the game. As you may know, in Dune, bullets are not the preferred type of ammunition. Instead, it's darts, which are fired at a slower rate in order to try and attempt to pierce shields. Now, this early in the game, enemies don't really have shields, so the player is going to sneak into the base from above and use a combination of their early abilities. In this case, dropping out a grenade, then sneaking around the corner, and beginning to get into NPCs head-on. Now, troopers are the basic
Yeah,
shock
some
troops
animation
of the
deal
universe,
look like
and their ability trees reflect that.
Especially for the
Grenades, Shigawire claws for moving around, and of course, they're able to take down people with headshots. You can see how suspensor belts really allow you to change your approach to combat.
Yeah, you can tell this is oldly because, like, yeah, the AI are very
Dune Awakening is
very
a
MMO with their
third-person shooter
basic now.
with melee and abilities. And it's the combination of melee, abilities, and range shooting that creates what we call combined arms in the game.
Yeah, you
Now,
can
we've
tell like the
taken a fair bit of
MMO
damage
part
in
is
this
shining,
battle.
chat.
So we're going to stop for a second to heal ourselves up with a bandage. Bandages heal over time, so you can't just heal yourself to 100%. You have to actually get into safety, get behind cover before you start using them. Now we're going to quickly switch to a slightly different character to show off more of the melee that we have in the game. Because you're about to see that when a character gets in close, it's melee time. This character has sword mastery.
Yeah, I want to see about that.
First of all,
it looked
the
very
knee
tad
charge,
targeting.
which is about
before.
getting in close to do damage in combat. And then quickly setting up to a riposte, which allows you to parry and return massive amounts of damage to your enemy. Of course,
Okay, I do gotta say right now, chat, like the combat, you know, like what it feels like from like watching it. It will remind me a lot of the Old Republic. Of just how the Old Republic were trying to do more than just like, you know, like dadnet tag targeting, but not quite enough to like look or feel like super real time. And that was the melee kind of feel like. to
later
me.
in the game, when enemies have shields, melee is a much more emphasized style of combat. And you see that when a player is not really equipped to handle ranged characters, they have to fall back on their abilities to get in close. Now, we've switched again. Now we're going to switch to a set of Mentat abilities. One of these abilities is known as Battlefield Calculation. Using Battlefield Calculation, the Mentat is able to calculate from anybody that they see what they're carrying and what they're wearing. Now we've dropped out our Hunter Seeker.
So now the question, what would
We're
be the
using our Hunter
motivation to
Seeker
do
ability
that?
to take down enemies in
You
the
know?
world really quickly.
I get maybe for that, the sequel stuff, but maybe the
Obviously, when you're
Mentat
playing
more
with a
useful for
friend,
PvP.
You want to combine your abilities
Maybe?
and work together. In this case, the Mentat's able to point out to their friend where people are in the world and how much ammo and stuff they have. And you'll see that when enemies
So does
go down
support
sometimes, they go into a
technically.
down but not out state. It's up to you whether you execute them or continue to fight.
So yeah, so it more like there to be like a report where I get in the continuity of Doom, having the Mentat crap being like
After a quick reload,
Yeah.
it's back into the battle.
more on
our
the
friend
way to
coming
show
from above
information to other
and
party
throwing out
member like
one more
support.
grenade.
That kind of makes sense for them. It just, I don't know if they're gonna be like fun to play as like a solo thing. Outside of like maybe PvP, you know, being able to bot.
And once
people,
you've defeated your enemies in battle,
you know, alone it'll bite you for and kill you.
sometimes you just got to take their blood. In order to get water, the player's going to have to craft themselves this blood sack and this blood extractor and use it to harvest blood from their fallen enemies. Now, in our game, it's not always a good thing to just take blood from people. It's potentially bad and can only be used for certain things.
How is it bad?
Once you've extracted the blood, you can then, of course, drink it. As you'll see here, the player takes a big sip from their blood bag. But when they do that, it causes a debuff because the blood is not exactly pure, and drinking blood for water is not exactly a 1-to-1 scenario. So you'll see that our health bar got shorter while our water bar went up. And so being a blood drinker is not always looked upon in the right way.
The blood is very delicious, T.I. Very.
Of course, once you've played the game for a little while, you'll start wanting to build your own base. And the first part of that is placing down what we call a sub-fief console. A sub-fief console allows you to claim a small part of Arrakis as your own.
Pretty
but it does in turn mean that you'll start to owe
stuff.
taxes to the Emperor. So here we are with our building system. And you can see that we have two types of building here. We have the holograms, which show in the beginning. I call them solido projections internally. And we have the way that you fill in, which is by holding down the mouse button in this case.
Yeah, because they're auto-using the item.
The cool thing about this is it allows us to have this cooperative building system. So you'll see that one player places out the solido projections, and the other player fills them in with the materials from their inventory. This is just a way that lets people play together and build together in an interesting and exciting way.
And pretty fat. Give me a little
We've seen
fat
through our
tails,
experience
though.
with Conan Exiles that some people just love to build in these games. So we've created a system called the Blueprint Building System that allows players to save a copy of their base.
I want to know,
as one of
like,
these giant holographics.
I think they say you could sell these
They
on the
can
player
take them out
market,
into the
right?
world and place them out wherever they like, and then rebuild. And we have another system in the game which allows you to take these, you know, big architectural designs of your buildings and sell them to other players.
Yeah, there it
in
is.
exchange.
I thought they said something about that.
Once
in the
again,
last
this is a way to quickly move your base around the world. If you've got a design you like, you don't have to, you know, throw it out immediately. And it allows you to create these.
I wonder if there's
interesting
going to be ability
masterpieces.
to be like
It
just
also,
submit
as
all
you can see
item and
here,
auto build it.
allows you to, you know, if you're not artistically
one
minded
back and
and you don't
forth.
like building big bases, you can buy them from other players. Once you finish crafting a base, you want to fill it with all kinds of machines, fabricators, and refineries. And of course, harkening back to the blood extraction we just did, we've got the blood purifier. So what we want to do is take the blood from our blood sack and deposit it into the blood purifier, and over time it will refine into lovely fresh water, which can then extract into our liter-johns and carry with us out into the desert.
Okay, they're speeding this up. Okay.
While there's many varieties of fabricators that you can use to craft
I
things
wonder
in
if
the
they're
game,
going to be like
one
pay
of the
to
most
beat up
exciting
type of
things
thing
is crafting
eventually.
yourself a vehicle. So we're opening the technology menu, and from here we're able to purchase the design for a sandbike. A sandbike is one of the early vehicles available to players.
Yeah, a
in the
lot of
game.
the crafting stuff seems
And
pretty
you
good,
can
but then again,
kit
like
it
they
out
were
with
talking
different
about
types of
Conan,
modules,
I think I've taught them
including
a
an
lot.
extra seat, which allows you to bring your friends with you.
Hey, multiple
So in this
mount,
menu, you can
or
see
multiple seat
we're
mount.
fabricating ourselves a sandbike, and all the different parts of the sandbike have to be fabricated individually. So the player is going into the menu here, they're crafting different things which will make up their sandbike, and as you can see, it prints out in this kind of 3D printer type way, where all the materials are turned into these particles which then come together to form the different pieces of the sandbike. And you can see it's sort of all happening in the background here. And if we go out into the world view, you can actually see the pieces forming up inside the fabricator. So a base with lots of these fabricators going is actually pretty cool and pretty busy. Once we've done, we jump back in, we pull things out of the queue, chuck them into our inventory, and then we use the welding tool to place out vehicle pieces. Now again, this is a cooperative activity. We've thought about multiplayer, so any other player could be working with you to place modules and pieces of this bike. And so we're going to assemble this bike But of course, when you work on
I'm
larger
just waiting
vehicles,
to like
and
3D
your
print
friends are
out
with you,
wide.
you'll be able to work together to craft big things like
I get-
transport ornithopters or sand.
I get it intently by having you make you build it. Hopefully once you build it, you can just like instantly just like do something to, you know, call it into play and not have to keep building it over and over and over again like that. Hopefully this is like a one time only. You know how like in 14, well, when you craft something, you craft it once manually, and then after that auto craft it if you want. So it'd be nice if it does that, like after you do it once, but still give you the ability to come in that menu, especially if you get like new parts or new paint or whatever, so you can actually attach it. So I'm curious to know how they're going to work. So the interesting part of this so far, yeah, the building stuff. Yeah, because I imagine it like if this game go the way that they seem to be wanting it to go as a MMO, is I feel like there's a maybe possibility, depending on how, you know, game modes are now compared to what they was in like 2004, but I could kind of see that like leaning into like very much like Star Wars Galaxy stuff of like, you know, not counting getting into the PvP, not getting into like the fight stuff, the political stuff, just like specifically this. If there were gonna be like players that can like legit, you know, have a proper like progression system that is just this. You know, kind of like how Star Wars Online, you know, had people role playing, you know, like bartenders or whatever to get currency to do other activity. Any of that was more like engaging with players to get said money. Well, so they did say you're gonna be able to sell it on a shop. The question is, that gonna be auto, or is it gonna be like you gotta meet up with them and hand them the item and take the money, kind of like how Pat's Exile does it, or did do it anyway. So that would be the main thing about it for me. It's like beyond the whole like skill tree of, you know, doing the whole thing, start off with like basic weapon, get better weapon, get super weapon, you know the normal progression system of a lot of survival games. I am very curious to see, like, not only will we have that progression, but will we actually have a character and a social progression as well for this stuff. Like, can someone be just this, or is it like a small part of like still having to go out there and fight and do stuff? Like, that's what I'm curious about when it comes to the building. Like, what is the progression in that? And how deep do we go? And is it a satisfied progression, as would be like leveling 1 to mat level or whatever would be?
Crawlers. And so we're going to add the body to this, and we're going to add an extra seat just in case we want to bring our friend with us out into the world. Once the bike's been assembled and fueled up, you jump on and you can head out to explore the greater areas of Arrakis.
Oh, okay. I think the ball over there on the far right is the oil on it, huh?
Heading out into the world to explore can be a dangerous experience. And as you explore the universe, you'll find certain dynamic events will occur. In this case, the War of Assassins has claimed a new victim, a ship, which falls from the sky, spilling its loot all over the sand. So we head out there to see what we can get, to harvest and gather as much as we can. Of course, the problem is, this is extremely visible to everybody in the nearby area. So people will be able to see this. And so in a PvP area, you might suddenly find yourself coming into competition with other players. In a PvE area, you might just find other people competing with you to get to the loot first.
God, they really do give me Star Wars, like, Old Republic vibes.
And of course, at night time,
which is not a bad
there are different kinds of threats.
I really like Old Republic
because while the heat of the day is dangerous, at night, the Sardaukar patrol this area of the desert with huge spotlights, searching for players. Now this player is over here, harvesting dew with a dew reaper.
Hang on, chat. Pine, how you doing, Pine? How you doing? Don't worry, I got the bit off for the moment because, you know, we recorded it for like YouTube and, well, chat got out of hand. But how you doing, Pine? How you doing tonight? Wait, just friendly reminder, we'll begin tomorrow night at 7 p.m. sharp. I'm pretty sure this is a public server announcement. No, and not tomorrow. It's October 4th. October 4th will be our War Worlds. Like that when it happened. That when it happening, Blind. But how you doing? We checking out the Doom video. I got sent like the PR company for that tweeted out to me. I'm like, hey, you want to check out 30 minutes of gameplay? Pretty much. That was exclusive to Gamecom, and I don't think they have posted this anywhere out yet. So they technically give me the go ahead to check it out on stream. So yeah, we've seen like a 30-minute presentation about everything about Doom. I'm kind of curious to know, honestly, how much it is actually going to be in the Awakening Direct on the 29th. But yeah. Yeah, we're going to be checking out the Doom MMO survival game that is exclusive to, I guess, technically, content creators and people in Germany right now. So yeah, I didn't ask for it. I did tweet out, so obviously my tweets are getting somewhere, chat. But yeah, right now they just went over like how to get blood, the beginning of the game, the crafting, the selling, the building mounts, and now we are going over like what you do outside of your base and what happened at nights. And they talked about the daytime being, you know, the whole heat stroke, sand warmed up. So they're going into what is happening at nighttime now. So that is where we are now. The video will be on YouTube. That's why we ended so late, so I can put it on YouTube later. If you want to see the whole thing, Pride.
Sucking the water off the surface of these plants, and they've been captured and seen by the Sardaukar. And the Sardaukar send down troops who come floating down out of the sky to attack and destroy the players.
So this is like the Halo stuff, like with the Covenant. That I get more real time and not set pieces. You know how the Covenant would drop.
Now, of course, as
mentioned,
traveling on the surface at any time risks drawing a sandworm. But there are certain things which we've created to draw players.
Yeah, they have
out
the temperature suit now. No more getting hot.
So in this case, there's a special type of sand here on the surface, known as flower sand. Flower sand, according to the books, is the softest kind of sand, and players can use it to refine it into a variety of different materials that they need for crafting. So, you want to come out into the desert.
Yeah, leave me answer the question about the Sandworm ball.
But
we do have
you have to be wary and pay attention, because as you harvest, you risk drawing the attention of the sandworm.
Yeah, it's odd how they wanted like harvesting manually and another one is using a gun to harvest.
We've awoken the beast. The sandworm is coming. We spent too much time out here, and it's coming to get us. Now you can see in the middle of the screen the indicator showing us that the sandworm is angry, and it's coming
after us. So the more wet it gets,
and
the
our
more
only
likely
option now is to get back to rocky ground, or the sandworm's going to take us. I don't know how those guys survived that, but somehow they managed to get to the safety.
I was gonna say the same thing. Okay, here we go. Now we're getting into cities now.
Once you've crafted your first ornithopter, you'll be able to take to the air.
Yeah, so much of this is so interesting to me on so many levels.
From here, it'll make traversing the world a lot safer because you can avoid the sandworms.
I'm a little sad.
It'll also help you to go out into the larger world of Arrakis.
All the public release anyway.
Here we are in the Overland map, and we're going to make our way south until we find the place.
So the stuff they showed during the direct wasn't just a design guide, actually a part of the game.
The current seat of the Harkonnen, after their city, Carthage, was destroyed in a nuclear explosion during the War of Assassins.
Yeah, the sandworm thing. Yeah, because the biggest thing about the sandworm, hopefully we will get into that. We only got like 6 minutes left. So I don't know if they're going to get heavily into PvP. Because I am very curious about the PvP part of it when it comes to the sandworm. Because obviously, you know, we just now know how to operate if you're doing, like, non-PvP stuff. Because the part that is confusing is, ideally you would think, like, what we just saw, so we had the little menu there of it getting, like, you know, closer and closer the more louder you are. So you would think in a PvP zone, like, the more tank, the more combat, the more stuff that's happening will pull in the sandworm. But also on top of that, we saw people in the trailer that had dumpers. So I believe they are called temple. The thing that called the worms. So I'm kind of curious, like, what is going on now? Is that like items you buy that can help you if you out doing what they were just doing with the sandworm? You know, to pull the sandworm away from you so you can like go somewhere else to keep mining or do whatever. So is it like an item that you just buy from like the player shop, but maybe we can answer in a second. Or is that like a late game thing? And if it is a late game thing, I feel like that like lean more into like you know, the higher level being better in combat because of that. Or that like a super early thing that everyone can get their hands on. That is like my main questions about like the sandworm when it comes to the PvP stuff. Yeah, because in the trailer they show like, oh, they were fighting and then they were like losing and they put it down and the worm show up and ate everybody and they got away. That was what it was in the last trailer, you know, the trailer they did opening night live. It's just one of them questions of like, that seemed really OP. So I'm so curious to know like, you know, how is that gonna operate? Like, how easy it is to get one of them items. But yeah, it is totally like you just, you know, to not only detract the one, but also pull them towards the enemy to eat them. So I imagine it's probably gonna be players who gonna like, you know, put a thumper down, shoot like someone, and then to try to bait other players over to the, you know, over to the thumper in time for the worm to eat them. Because that obviously going to be probably a main strategy for like PvP. But yeah, exactly. There had to be a counterplay for it. Like, yeah, like it just seemed really OP, knowing like how they were elite in the books and the movies, and from the way they seem in the trailer. Like, I feel like there gotta be some like balance there, right?
There's more details like that in the lore of the game for players to discover and explore. So we're going to land at Harco, and we're going to explore the social space. Once you arrive in Harco Village, you'll be able to meet up with other players, interact with them, trade, and create guilds. The game has a variety of social interaction mechanics, from emotes to grouping to a chat. Throughout Harco Village, you'll also interact with story characters, follow the main story. You'll be able to meet vendors who will sell you exotic items.
They let you live. That is interesting.
Now you can tell it all. We don't have like.
You'll be able to get a feel for how the factions are viewed in the world, and of course, you'll be able to swear allegiance to one of the major factions, the Harkonnen or the Atreides. Swear your guild's allegiance and begin to take part in the politics of the Imperium. Once you've grouped up with friends, you should go out into the world and find desert Imperial testing stations. These are dungeon-like experiences,
yeah, dungeon. I was gonna say
which
dungeon.
you and your
they
friends
to it.
can work through together. So here we are landing our various ornithopters outside of one of the desert testing stations, and we're going to head in as a group. Now it's really important to prepare different skills and abilities. These areas tend to be more of a challenge, and it's great to work together.
Oh, hello,
skill
skill tree. I think the full time we have seen the skill tree.
Here you can equip different types of abilities and techniques. We have 3 slots for abilities and 3 slots for techniques. And there are multiple different trees depending on the type of trainers that you...
Okay, this is good. Not only the training NPC to give you a ability. This right here is good. Because like you might look at it and be like, that seemed limited of having 3 ability and there were like 10 on that queen. But like, what's gonna make that good if they do that correctly is like how much customization you can get there by matching, and how much distance you'll build from one person to the next going to be. So like, I am all for like MMO design that not just like heal everything, and then you just gotta figure it out. But having like more along the lines of like, you only can carry so much stuff, make your character, you know. So I'm kind of happy we're going that way, route for that. And also, you know, you keep it more simple, especially since it's obviously going to be more in the action MMO side and not tag targeting, and if some animation still look like it is. So probably keeping it limited down to like I would say you would think it would be full ability, especially like just like the face buttons, but either way, I'm totally okay with them doing it in that way.
Within the world. So our character here is going to equip a series of abilities that complements the rest of their group. In this case, Swordmaster techniques. Alright, so we're heading in, and of course you can use dispenser belts to traverse, as you'd expect. And we're going to explore this Imperial testing lab.
You've entered Desert Botanical Testing Station number 163. I'm Dr. Wen Omeka, Senior Plant Geneticist here at the station.
Yeah, I agree with that, T.I. Well, hopefully it balanced well. Sometime they just turn into a choice that kill and spreadsheet say, yeah. That would be like my only real worry about it as well. Of like, I feel like the biggest thing once you're dealing with like abilities like this is just that, because it's like the biggest letdown I feel like in a lot of games. I bet you like, you know, PvP, MMO, whatever it might be, anything online, of like, you know, people getting trapped into like whatever, like, you know, like, oh, my bot and my spreadsheet say this build, the bet build, and everyone should become that. Like, I hope there are enough like variables and enough like balance, well, instead of being like, oh, this ability, this ability, this ability, and best ability. Like, I hope we get to a point, ideally, well, you know, any of them might be like sorting build being like, oh, that one is better if you want to be like a maid type, or this is better if you want to be the sneaky type. Like, that will probably happen. But having the ability to like match it and actually do interesting things, especially the way they complement and play off of each other, I feel like that's gonna be like a main thing here. So no matter how good this is in context or in concept, I mean, I am so interested to see how they're gonna nail that down. Like 100%. Yeah, because they could literally become like PSO. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, it like the promise of this is way more interesting to me than, you know, like here you have a billion ability. But I do agree, like, yeah, hopefully they can balance it in a way that don't like heavily just become like community spreadsheet focused.
Testing stations have storylines as well as enemies to fight and loot to be found.
Hopefully,
so I really want to go in here and enjoy the
having lots
experience.
of ability might be easier to balance.
Playing with friends, working together, using different weapons and trying out different techniques. Now this player has placed out a portable cover. This is a different ability to what we've seen before. And you see that the enemies here have shields. Using the flamethrower, it's easy to get through a shield because you can burn the air around them. Now, of course, our characters are a little higher level than they were in the start of this video. So you're able to see that, yeah.
Yeah, I do feel like the AI on the enemies is a little so-so.
And of course, when you get to the end of these areas,
they seem very much like
cool
you're coming at you.
And in these loot chests, you find specialized components that are used for crafting exotic weapons and items. The end game of Dune Awakening takes place in the deep desert.
Yeah, there's the PvP
Giant
stuff.
spice blows will happen, drawing players from all around to try and harvest the spice as quickly as possible.
Not a question, like, what's the time on that?
You want to try and take as much spice as you can,
you know,
before an enemy guild shows up to try and take it away from you. Now, of course, if you're clever,
there it is,
and you start to lose the battle, you might place out a thumper. And that limits the time in which people are able to take spice, because then the big worm.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to elaborate on how easy or hard it is to get a thumper. I don't think we're getting that in that video. I also want to know about the fight trade, Chan, as well.
I hope you've enjoyed this brief glimpse at the gameplay of Dune Awakening. And we're really excited to have you join us when the game releases.
Yeah, like the one thing I wish they went into this, is like like my two biggest questions, because obviously this like, yeah, this was a good like breakdown as far as what we're gonna be looking at. Like, don't get me wrong, we could go more into detail with the guilds and the side questing and, you know, the lore outside of, you know, the trailer. Like, yeah, there was still plenty of stuff to talk about in that phase. But I like, my biggest question still, from like bare minimum, like mechanically, is once again how we get our hands on the Temple and how common and easy and whatnot is that. Or maybe you can just make it, and by the time since the in-game, maybe it's not hard to make, maybe, so anyone could technically have it. My other thing is, will the Temple now work on the small ones? And they said they will for the big guns, so I wonder if that only for PvP. And also I want to know, since they said the fight stuff gonna play into like the economy and the political stuff. I want to know how far they go with that. That is the other thing. Like, because obviously we know like the very far end of that being EVE Online of like how far that could go. So I'm curious to see like, is anything like that, or maybe it's just so early they haven't worked out the details of that yet. Maybe that's the reason it wasn't brought up. But yeah, I am curious. I am very, very curious on this end. But nonetheless, big thing to Funcom for reaching out and sending out this behind doors Gamecom only video that may or may not be public in the next few days on the website. I don't know. Probably the video will probably drop on the 29th, like unedited, just without me in the corner. But nonetheless, the video will be going up on YouTube. So if you're watching it on YouTube after the fact, be sure to come on over to twitch.tv/TroyMacon. We're covering all the Doom stuff. It's my most anticipated MMO right now because I love Doom, I love survival game, I love MMOs. It's a perfect storm. I do have my worry about being a licensed games and what come with licensee when it comes to live service, as we know can very quickly cause stuff to get closed down. But for the time being, finger crossed, everything go good, and I still need to very much check out Conan Exile. Because obviously we done weapon seeing it multiple times. That is like a very big like ideal of probably how some of it gonna work out. We need to do that at some point. But yeah, big thank you to them for sending this over. I'm happy we got a chance to actually see this without having to be in Germany. So, like, favorite, subscribe, hit all the bells over on YouTube. If you're on Twitch, be sure to follow, subscribe, Amazon Prime, all that shenanigans. And yeah, I get with that. I think that's probably gonna go ahead and do it for me for Doom Awakening. So I get. See you in the comments. Like, let's pretend like a normal video. I guess it kind of end. Either way, comment below. I don't know why I'm waving out. I'm trying to find my button, chat, to stop the video though. See you in the next video.